Welcome everyone to Spotlight. Today we're really privileged to actually be joined by Ryan Hanley, who is the co-founder and CEO over at Travello. First of all, Ryan, welcome, mate. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Marty. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, awesome. And Ryan, the reason why I think for the audience side that I'd love to get you on is because what you do from a technology standpoint is one, amazing. Secondly, you've really seen some things transpire over the past 12 months, especially in travel, with the COVID side of things and the impact it's had, not just with our traveller community and the organisations involved in that, but also you as an organisation as well. And I'd really love you to share that journey with us today. So before we do kick in with the first question, do you just want to give everyone a quick introduction of yourself and Travello?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Ryan Hanley, the CEO and co-founder of Travello. Travello was founded about 4 years ago by myself and Mark Cantoni, my co-founder. And Travello is essentially a travel technology company, and there's a few different elements to the business. There's a consumer-facing app, which is a social network for travellers, which is used in over 180 countries by over 1 million users. That's essentially a platform for travellers to become inspired about their travel journey, connect with other travellers, and then share those adventures with the rest of the travel community. Then there's an OTA element, so an online travel agency where we actually sell in-destinations, tours, activities and attractions, or otherwise known as experiences, to our community.
Yep.
And then there's a SaaS side to the business, which is our B2B platform that helps connect travel companies with their customers in destinations. So we're really taking an ecosystem or a community element, some of those data insights, and bringing it together into one platform that ensures a really great and seamless travel experience.
Yeah, fantastic. And so to me, it's really at the epicenter of the way people are thinking about travel, how we did it prior, and how we're going to do it in the future. And you guys are at the center of that, which is incredible. So let's rewind a bit. Let's go back 12 plus months.
Do we have to?
Yeah, we do. We do. And sort of think about that past 12 months. What are some of the trends that you did see across the traveller community, apart from the fact that we couldn't travel? Is one element to it, but I don't think people really saw behind the curtains. We all heard about the impact it had. But what are some of the things that you saw over that period in relation to your community?
Yeah, absolutely. So around March, April last year, essentially the travel industry globally came to an absolute standstill, which is, it's an overused term, but it's 100% unprecedented. Nothing ever like it has happened before. So it was a really interesting time. Travellers couldn't travel, but the one thing we knew is just because the borders were shut and planes weren't flying, people don't lose their love of travel, and people don't lose their love of connecting with other travellers. And Travello, the social side, is really a conduit for travellers around the world to connect within our community. So it was a really interesting time, Marty, because we saw one after the initial closure, and bear in mind that Travello was being used as a platform to travellers to connect in destination. So I fly to London, jump on the app, connect with people once I'm there. But we saw our community shift the way they actually used Travello to still create those social connections, but from their couch, from their lounge room. So everyone around the world was trapped at home, but all of a sudden we started to see our engagement metrics rise, our chat metrics rise, the number of posts. So people weren't traveling, but they were putting up travel memories. This was the last place I went to, or this is the first place I'm going to go to, when this finishes. And we actually started to see some pretty incredible growth. So it was really interesting how the community took hold of our platform and essentially just shaped it to the way they now wanted to use it, which was really great to see.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Now let's look at the upside to this story. So travel can be done, not necessarily international, but definitely domestically in all of our countries. So what are some of the trends that you're seeing there through the community on more in-destination type experiences?
Yeah, so what we're seeing across the board, and I've spoken with people in other sectors. So we sit in tours and activities, but the same trend seems to be appearing in flights and accommodation as well. It's just shorter booking windows, essentially. So there's so much uncertainty in the market that people used to book their flights for their trips or their holidays 3, 4, 5, 6 months out. They're seeing those windows really shorten. Now, in the tours and activities vertical, which is where we're pretty used to those booking windows because our tours and activities are typically booked in destination because a lot of them are weather dependent, So I'm not going to do an outdoor activity if it's raining, so I normally book within 1 or 2 days. So we're very used to those short booking windows. We are seeing them become even shorter, but that's a definite trend that we're seeing, which makes it incredibly hard to plan for a whole range of travel companies because you're not seeing the demand come months in advance.
Yes.
So hopefully we'll start to see some stability and then see those booking windows start to return to some kind of normality.
Yeah, no, I love it because I look at this from a consumer perspective. I mean, we're all moving, whether it's an hour up the road, 10 hours up the road, given your geography, and if you've got the ability to do that, like Australia or the US, we're still moving, right? So the idea, how do you bring that experience to me based on, I do know I'm going somewhere at Easter, or I do know I'm going somewhere in that school holidays. How do I get personalized with that location? And
that's right. And what we're also seeing, Marty, is people just, exploring closer to home. So, a lot of our bookings are coming, a lot of our bookings used to be with people that either were going to travel or were already away from a destination, but we're seeing a lot of bookings coming through with people looking to explore their own backyards. So people in Sydney booking a bridge climb or surfing lessons on Bondi for the first time or a trip to the Blue Mountains. So we're really seeing people stay pretty close to home, but still wanting to have that kind of experiential, memory, I suppose, created through travel.
Yeah, it's interesting because the way I think about it, a lot of international travelers have shared those memories in Travello app, but they actually have come from overseas. And in many cases, they've seen more than Australia, for example, than we have.
I think that's what people are starting to realize is that, people travel from the other side of the world and spend tens of thousands of dollars to explore what's in our own backyard or is an hour down the road or, North Queensland or wherever it is. So, we've got these great destinations. They're quite often overlooked by Australians, but I think this is a really good time for Australia to, as the Tourism Australia slogan goes, holiday here this year. So it's good. It's good.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world, it's the same feeling and the same sentiment.
It is.
To basically experience that backyard stuff. Absolutely. Love it. So let's shift a little bit to Travello as a company. So you're fast-paced, you're high-tech, you're moving at speed. COVID hits, as it did everybody, and everyone tried to scramble and work out what made sense. Just at a high level, what were a couple of things that you did instantaneously to try to work your business model in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, so straight away we knew that we were essentially moving into survival mode. We knew revenue was going to, completely drop, which it did, and we basically took made some big decisions early. So kind of went fast and hard, I suppose. So we cut a lot of costs, including our office, pretty much a lot of our major costs. We just went straight through and just cut them down, moved everyone remote. Unfortunately, everybody had to go down to 4 days a week as part of that cost cutting. But, for Mark and I, it was really a matter of making sure that the company could weather that storm. And it was a very, very difficult storm to weather. So, you had to make a number of hard decisions in a very short amount of time. But I think the fact that we did act quickly held us in good stead. It has allowed us to get through to the other side. And, we've really got to thank our team members who were very understanding about the situation, really understood the severity of it as well. And, the attitude that they showed and the support to the company and keeping other people's jobs alive, was great because we essentially explained to them, if we don't go down to 4 days, we're going to lose people. So this is about keeping the family together here. And everybody's going to take sacrifices. Mark and I, as founders, we were the first ones to take the pay cut. We continued to work 5 days, but we didn't expect that of everyone else. And everyone was really understanding, which was great.
Love it. Openness, transparency, clarity, and speed.
Yeah.
That's the way what you just described to me. That's what I see, which now we look at the idea of we are starting to see a trend.
Yeah.
And the trend we are going to continue to move as travelers. We're just going to do it more locally centric than international. But we also want the experiences national, right? So you guys recently did a TV show and you continue to do that. Just share with us, because I thought that was a really interesting dynamic through a period where people were craving content. People were craving experiences. Share a bit more about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was one of those kind of, I guess, left field opportunities that came up in the midst of, COVID happening. But we were contacted by a production agency, and they essentially said they had experience creating shows. They created the Luxury Escape shows and a few other shows. And they said, look, we think there's a big opportunity here for a domestic-based travel show built around drive travel. They correctly made the prediction that drive travel was going to be the focus for some time to come, and a return to road trips and all of those types of things. And they said we want it to be about, experience based. So people going to a location, experiencing what it has to offer, and also connecting with locals. And they thought that had a really good alignment with our brand, which it did. So we partnered up with those guys, set to make 6 episodes to air on Channel 10. But such was the sentiment from sponsors and destinations. We ended up doing 10 episodes. So that was a really great result and provided a really great, branding and sales opportunity for Travello.
Well, it also created, the way I sort of look at that as well, it also created the leverage travel tech, knowing that the definition of travel tech has changed.
Yes.
Forever.
Yes.
And it's a real strategic play to look at how do you look at the brand from the media side? How do you look at exposure? That sort of stuff, which also then plays in hand with more people coming to the app. Right. That's also why I liked it as well. Apart from the actual episodes were fantastic. Yeah. I like the idea of what it gave you across the board as you look at your strategy, which I think we all had to do.
Yes.
We all had to do through this period. It wasn't just about what we did before and what we're going to do tomorrow. We need to create other avenues within our And you've got to do it with transparency, clarity, and speed.
Absolutely. Right. So all of that. You really did. You didn't, during that last year, Marty, you really didn't have a lot of time to think. You had to see what opportunities were arising and make some very quick decisions on whether you thought they were going to be good. And luckily, we managed to get more right than wrong.
So let's talk about Travello now as you come. We're not coming out of it, right? It's sort of the new normal for a while, right?
Yeah.
But as you look at your internal operations, there are things that are growing in the business. Because I saw something the other day about bringing new people on board.
Yeah.
Sellers of your business that are scaling, which is fantastic. Now, think about the operation. Just share with the audience on how you're setting up your business for scalable growth.
Yep.
As we work through COVID and also post-COVID as well.
Yeah, well, I think COVID has really made a generational shift in the way people travel, the way people work. Sorry. So, remote work, video calls has just become, an everyday practice now, and people enjoy it. And for the most part, I think people work more efficiently and better as a result of that. So we will certainly be maintaining that ethos going forward. So we're moving into a new office very soon. At the moment, I'm in the office today, but and we've got 4 of our team who are in here of their own accord. Yep. But at the moment, it's still fully remote and come into the office when you want. As we transition to our new office in about 3 weeks, we basically said, look, we want everybody in the office 2 days a week. They can still have flexibility over what days they are. But we said it makes sense to work it around teams. The teams coming in a certain day, just so you have that, those accidental collisions and collaborations that only come from the water cooler moment or overhearing a conversation and all those types of things. And also just culture, people, we still believe that people make a company, and people is what, make a company great. So we want to make sure we've got that really great culture. We want to make sure, as you said, when we onboard new staff, that, their first day isn't from their own kitchen, meeting people via a screen. We want people in the office meeting people, but certainly flexibility and work from home has probably become a permanent part of the way we work here at Travello. And that has come with some very steep learning curves as managers around the operations of the business and high levels of trust in our team members. But so far, so good.
Yeah, fantastic. And so you also have some team members in other locations, not in Brisbane, Australia, which is where you're based. So you've got Melbourne, you've got India, you've got in South Korea. Like, there's a lot of locations that you're also managing. How are you doing that? What's the best way to pull that together?
Yeah, so plug to the software. So stratapp is a big part of how we're operating our remote staff at the moment. So as you said, we've actually got team members in South Korea, Philippines, India, and Melbourne. So we're across 5 locations at the moment, the team. So having, as you said before, really transparent workflow and a very clear understanding of what everyone is actually working on is really integral to making remote work.
Yeah. And I love it because structure and speed, which you can put straight up into that bucket with the right leadership, transparency, clarity, purpose, and all that sort of stuff. It's a nice little marriage, because I don't think we get away from the team still needs to operate and breathe when you and I aren't in the room, right?
Yes,
they
absolutely.
get their jobs done. And if we can make that as a simple work environment as possible, where they can own it and they can move it at speed, everyone's the beneficiary of that. And that can then have a massive impact on remote culture. Because it's not just about culture in the office, it's about how do we actually ensure that everyone feels like they're part of the journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think you guys do a phenomenal job at.
Yeah, no, it's been a big transition. Certainly been a learning curve, and we're still learning, and it's not perfect, but we're getting there.
Yeah, fantastic. So what's big on the horizon for you guys as we look to wrap up? What's the next big thing?
Yeah, so I mean, big shift to domestic travel for us, really focus on getting Australians out and booking with local operators. As we said before, getting them exploring and experiencing their own backyard, because there's so many great things to do here. Luckily, there's a lot of support from Tourism Australia down at the moment. So we're kind of working with those companies to help, promote the best of Australia, and really looking forward, to be honest, Marty, to the bubbles opening up. That'll be a game changer. For travel and Oceania, or a kind of Australia, New Zealand, and maybe a Singapore bubble would really get the entire industry back on track. So looking forward to that happening, hopefully sometime this year.
Yeah, fantastic. And you guys are going to play a massive role in that. So Ryan, thank you very much for spending time with Spotlight. I think the idea of what we just spent through for the last 10 minutes or so was a great insight to you as an organization, where I'm really walking away with the speed at which you moved at to make those hard decisions early. It actually has allowed you to actually sit here today and say, we know where to grow, because we're so in tune with all the decisions we made, and everyone's on board to basically help us accelerate into that. So congratulations on that, buddy. That is awesome.
Thanks, Marty.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, bud, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much. Great to chat.
Cheers.